I'll speak about business intelligence. So my name is Ted Ochola. I'm the channel manager for Microsoft East Africa. And this is one of the discussions normally I like having, this and cybersecurity. So today we're going to look at the evolution of business intelligence and how data is transforming how banks need to think of how they need to target their customers differently and how effectively they need to do that. So in the world of unprecedented change, the world is changing every other day. So many things are happening, so much technology is going on. Data is now the new currency. For those who had the privilege of attending the cybersecurity session, in any organization right now, if I'm able to target your data and restrict your organization from accessing that data, that's money for me as a hacker. Now, if you look at what the Russians did to the US in their election, if you look at many places in the world where a lot of cyber hacking is happening, they first hold the data. Then they ask you for money for it. Hence why the name ransomware. It's a ransom for the money that they want to get from the data that you have. So data is the new currency. That's from a hacker standpoint, as well as for those people who are sitting in this room and for all the organizations represented here. How can you monetize data? So between 70 and 80% of corporate business intelligence projects largely fail. Why? Because the insights they deliver that the business needs, according to research by Gartner, shows that they fail for three major reasons. One, inability for most enterprise analytics tools to incorporate internal and external data. Now, Innocent started the presentation by saying the age he was born in, there were transformers. Now, the age I was born in, there were no transformers. The age I was born in, there was data. There was information. I'm part of that they call the millennial group. Some get shocked when I say that, but yes, I was part of that millennial group. Meaning, for me, information is right at my fingertips. So what can I do with it, and how can I use it to make me more effective in how I conduct my business? So for you as an organization, how can you tap into TED? TED is either on Instagram, is on Facebook, is on Twitter, is on YouTube, is on Gmail, is on Hotmail, is on all these platforms. Is on Amazon buying stuff, is on Jumia buying stuff, I'm at Masoko, I'm buying stuff. There are guys who sell things on Facebook, everywhere. I'm always doing transactions. How can you use my information and my digital footprint across the cyberspace to sell me a product that makes sense? Now, if you tap into that data, then it makes your kind of projects that you make more effective for me as a millennial. My dad, who was born in the 40s, is very focused on traditional banking. He still goes to the ATM. I think the last time I went to the ATM was a very while back, I think when I was still setting up the account. But that's him. He still goes to the ATM. He still goes in queues. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But that's how he knows transactions. So this one time he wanted to buy a new phone. I told him, just go to Amazon. Click, buy. Then I asked, yeah, so how do I pay? He said, you key in your credit card details, expiry date, you put in your name, you click submit. Then he said, so how do I get the product? Now you wait, it has to be shipped to you. So I'm paying for something without receiving it. So he said, no, I'm not going to buy that. That didn't work for me. I don't trust. They might steal my credit card details. So I told him, but I can do it for you. Okay, you use your card. I thought if you lose money, it's okay. But for me, I'm not going to use mine. So that's what I did. I paid for him a week later. Of course, one of our friends was traveling. He got his phone. But that's one of the reasons they fail is because we cannot understand external and internal data. Two, the difficulty in gathering the right data to use. There's some information that is irrelevant. Right now, the bank where I bank right now, they always send me spam emails. Oh, there's this happening, there's this being done. And it's a general mail blast to everybody. So what you do is you target your entire customer base and you hope 2% of those people respond to the marketing campaign that you've done. But we have to have tailored marketing campaigns, the right data to use. Then finally, the disconnect between insights and decisions they tend to drive. So sometimes there are insights that you have, but the question is, are you using those insights to make the right decision-making processes for your organization? And that's where data then becomes the new currency, because if you understand the insights, then you can monetize that money for you. Now the next slide, before I go there, it's no surprise that 1/3 of CEOs, currently this is according to a study done by KPMG, don't trust the accuracy of their internal analytics tools. They don't trust them. So right now, how do we do analysis? How do we gather insights as an organization? Do we do surveys? Do we just ask our customers whenever they go to the banking hall, please fill this survey on a piece of paper? Or how do we get to know that? So KPMG says a third of the CEOs do not trust your own internal analytics tools. Now that has to change, because how you gather them and how you make decision-making processes will define how you are in the future. We said about 65% of the current swarm of people who are going to be working from 2020 going forward were people who were born in 1985. Those are not old people. That's by 2020. By 2024, the workplace will be filled by people who were born in 2000. Now that's just 19 years ago. 75% of the workforce will have that generation that's working. Now, are you prepared to bank with that generation? If we are still using the traditional forms of banking that we've been doing when my dad was born in 1940. What insights are we getting from them now to enable us to tailor products that they can use at that time? 2025 is in 6 years. We're in July. We have a 6-year window as organizations to start creating products that make sense. The only way you can do that is start gathering data now and start rolling them out as you go along. Now, the addressable market for those people that are 6 years from now is 430 billion. That is the productivity benefits 6 months from now. This is globally. This is not just Kenya or East Africa. 430 billion is the addressable market if you use data in the right way. Now imagine if you just get 1% of that. That's $4.3 billion as added revenue to your organization. Just 1%. We're not looking for the full 100% because there are thousands of banks globally. If we just target 1%, or if we target 0.01%, that gives us $430 million in revenue to your organization that's coming in because of the right products that you ideally create. So we have to, so data is everywhere we are. It can be in the cloud, it can be on-premise, and a lot of it can be digested right inside here to give us, and we can use tools such as the common things that we know to be able to give us the right insights and decision-making process. So at the end of the day, it's how are you connecting to that data source. So cloud here is where Ted lives, because he's a millennial. That's where a lot of his information is. Mr. Ochola, my father, a lot of his data is on-premise. It's in files, it's in papers, it's in a drawer in his house. How do we tap into those two to be able to create insights, to create products for him more effectively? And as we go along, we have to get away where we experience data. Now, that's the problem statement. Now, the solution is as soon as you're able to get that data and to harness it, you can then be able to have search dashboards to give you insights on the go, to give you insights on the fly. And you can automatically discover data, trends, challenges, and come up with solutions as you're going along. There's an organization I was trying to have this conversation with, and I told them, we have to move from static data. Static data means you close your day, you get data at the end of the day, the next day you send a report as a PDF, as an Excel document. We have to shift from that. We have to get to a place where data is right at our fingertips. We're always on the phone, we're always on the go, we always have iPads, iPhones, Samsungs, whatever, name it. Always right at your fingertips. You want information right at your fingertips. Yesterday, where I stay, there was a challenge of internet. So where we stay, we're about 127 houses. Half the population is on Zuku, half is on Safaricom. Now, Safaricom had a problem. So all the Zuku people were saying, move to Zuku. Then the Zuku people said, some people in Zuku said, no, don't come. You're going to you're going to degrade our service. Stay with Safaricom. That option that you guys have chosen. Now, why is that example relevant? It's because the person who had a problem at Safaricom called Safaricom. They took so long to come. So one of the people said, why don't you get Zuku? And when they called Zuku, he came right immediately. Now, that talks about customer experience, yes. But Zuku had a bot. They have a bot where if you go online, you chat with it, it automatically creates a case for you. You're able to come, detect the issue, they fix it, and they actually give an SLA of 6 hours. Now, I'm not promoting Zuku. I'm just saying how they fixed the problem. But all that was because of data that they had received. So as an organization, how can we automatically solve challenges of customers right at our fingertips, moving away from the traditional way of doing banking? It doesn't mean you have to go to the cloud. You can just invest in what you have, but be smart about how it's executed. I'm about to close. I said 6 slides. We're on slide number 5.5. Run your business in real time with dashboards. As information comes in, you're able to see the amount of transactions you had per day. You're able to see your opening balance and your closing balance. You're able to see how many new customers did you get, what is their age bracket, what's their demographic, what are they currently doing, what are they interested in. Ted has come to your dashboard. What is his general trend of buying? Now that is information that's coming. That is what IT calls unstructured data. Structured data is Ted's name, his date of birth, where he lives. That's structured data. But there's the unstructured data you get from traditionally unstructured resources that can be able to drive decision making. And then finally, you can use the normal dashboards that you have to be able to create your visuals and everything that you do. So you can ideally use what you know, but the engine that works behind the scene is what you don't know, and that's what you need to tap into. Finally, I'll close with this example. This is it's an engine, plane engine. I'll use it because GE makes engines for planes. And this is how they transitioned, they changed their business model. Classically, what they used to do, they would sell engines to planes, Boeing and Airbus, Embraer from Brazil. Here's an engine, buy it, sell it, use it. They realized that model was not sustainable. So what did they do? What they did is they stopped selling engines and started selling operating hours of this engine. So what they own is the engine nowadays are still GEs. But what they sell, the plane companies, is hours of service. So they tell you this engine will last you 400 hours. What they've put inside the engines are multiple sensors. Now those sensors feed back insights to GE's headquarters. As they get the insight, they get to realize this particular part is about to wear out. So what they do, if the plane is flying from, say, the US to Europe, they will send an engineer to Europe. By the time the plane lands, they already have the information of what needs to be repaired, and it's repaired. So they now sell you per flight hour. They charge the plane makers per flight hour, as opposed to selling you one engine plus a maintenance fee. Now that's how they're using insights to transition their traditional way of doing business to now be more monetized based on an hourly basis. So globally, that's how they're running their actual business. Now that's an example of a company who've transitioned their business model just because of data. And that's where, for me, I would like all of you here to start thinking, if you've already not thought about it, of moving your business to. How can we use data to generate more revenue? That 10%, that $430 billion I talked about, how can we tap into that to get more revenue for ourselves?
If you're a millennial, then I'm sure by the time I finish the sentence, you'll quickly pull it up from YouTube and you'll figure it out, and we'll all be on the same page in a little while. So basically, these were characters that would come from something like this to this. So as you can see, there's a semblance of the old. There's some resemblance between this form and the previous. What's really happened here is that this form has taken new capabilities that make it able to do things that the previous one couldn't do. If you look at this, it can walk, it can run. Look at this one, it can move really, really fast. So that's our summary of what transformation is all about. So deep change across the business. So let's now look at the change drivers. What's really driving this change? What's making the need for transformation urgent? To change a bank is really, really quick. When I was young, it took me a whole day to close my account. To open that account took days. I needed a letter from HR to say that I deserved to open a bank account, and eventually got one. Today, I can open one while I'm seated here. Mobile money. I think nobody knows the transformation that mobile money has done or has made to Kenya more than ourselves. Today, according to the CBK, we as Kenyans are doing 150 million transactions a month, moving about $400 billion a month, and of course, half of our $80 billion GDP passes through mobile money. So definitely, high pace increase in use of mobile money and driving the change as well. And customers' expectations. I mean, today, apparently, if someone posts a request on social media, they actually expect to get a response within an hour. If you don't provide that response within an hour, you are considered to be a very, very slow institution. Personalization is the key differentiator today. So today, people are just not interested in a bank knowing who they are, the ID number and whatnot. We are interested in this bank being proactive and sending us or approaching us with only the stuff that we need, instead of wasting our time with all sorts of general marketing and stuff like that that really don't help us. And of course, the nature of interactions with customers, becoming more and more digitized, more and more automated to deliver that kind of service that the population, the customers are really driving and demanding. All right, so let's look at the elements of digital transformation from a Microsoft standpoint. So when we talk of digital transformation, we are looking at 4 elements. Remember, we are looking at transformation as something that is deeply ingrained across the business. So we can't have transformation by just looking at one part, maybe just customer-facing and trying to transform that. So we look at these 4 pillars. The first one is the employees. Second is customers. Third is products. And the final one is operations. And all this come together in what we call a digital feedback loop, because there's always interconnections and interrelationships between all these 4 pillars. So what's basically happening is that insights are coming from customers, from operations, from employees, from products. And as they move in there into the center, they're getting analyzed and giving the organization the capability to extract some insights that they can act on. So you see there signals coming in from the customers, operations, employees providing their input, providing their feedback. Then you also have, sorry, let me go back there. Oops. Yes. So as a result, you have the output. So you have deeper customer engagement. You have more efficient operations. You have better employee input. And your products are improving because out of the telemetry that you're getting from the products, telling you how is this app being used, how is this website being used, how is this particular front end being used, and you're improving it continuously. All right. So as Microsoft, the way we respond to these 4 pillars is actually through 4 of our solution areas. So we don't claim to do everything. We focus on these 4 areas, and all these come together in various combinations to deliver digital transformation. So we have modern workplace solutions, business applications, applications and infrastructure, data and AI, which is basically our cloud platform. And most of the transformation really is driven by those 2 platforms right there. All right, so let's go into how we actually transform organizations or how we help you transform. So before I go into that, it's important to say that it's not just about technology. There's also the culture piece, there's the brand, and then, of course, the systems. Of course, as Microsoft, we don't take care of the culture and the brand aspect. That is for other people to take care of. But it's extremely important. This is why I'm mentioning it here. So it would be not honest for us to tell you all you need is technology, whether it's from Microsoft, whether it's for somebody else, and you'll be able to transform. The cultural piece needs to be in place because you're talking about fundamental changes. And every time you're introducing a change, you're talking really about a culture change. You are asking people to start doing things differently, to embrace that possibility of failure, because you're going to be trying to radically change your business. So, of course, the possibility of failure is always there. It's something to grapple with. That ability to be agile, do things quickly, fail fast, move forward, and stuff like that, that really is a culture thing that needs to be in place before the technology can make a difference. All right, so let's look at the practical ways in which Microsoft would help you transform. So the first really is to have a workshop whereby we bring in our industry experts. So these are guys with deep expertise in banking. It's not just IT guys. They've spent their life in banking. They understand the lingo. They understand the needs. And in this workshop, they're looking at trends with you, looking at the challenges, also looking at the digital platform that the customer is looking at. And we also share with you some of the customer success stories that we've done with other organizations, other banks, that we've successfully enabled to transform. Our second is a pre-envisioning workshop where we look at the business constraints. What are the IT challenges that are constraining the transformation effort? We are building with you the vision at this point to say, how should this digital bank look like? And we're also looking at what should these solutions that we are proposing produce as an outcome in terms of digital transformation. A fourth is Envisioning Workshop that goes deeper, interviewing C-level executives, interviewing IT, interviewing business leaders, and coming up with a blueprint, building a vision for a minimum viable product, how it would look like, and also putting forward a budgetary estimate of what it would cost to produce that output. Lastly, there's execution roadmap, whereby we're actually looking at the specific solutions, what time will they be deployed, what kind of digital platform output are we looking at, and then this is going to be the basis for execution and building the product that we are looking for. And as a result, a digital platform is expected as an outcome. All right, so let me talk about a practical example of where we have helped a bank transform. So Tangerine Bank is a bank in Canada. So this bank came late into the game, and they needed to differentiate. And they realized that they're not going to just differentiate by bringing in new services and things like that. In fact, the reason why they call themselves Tangerine is that they wanted to stand out. If you think about a tangerine, walk into a fruit market, you can't miss a tangerine. So this is what they came to the market with. And what they decided to do is that they are going to only provide products that customers ask for. So how are they going to figure that out? So they used our platform, a number of solutions, put them together from the analytics domain, from visualizations, from big data, warehousing, and all that. And they were able to tap into both structured and unstructured data. So unstructured data from sources like Twitter, Facebook, structured data from their internal systems, the core banking, and all these things. And they were able to get the benefit of simplified access to their feedback, so through their visualizations that they could now look at. They had a very clear sense of what the customers are looking for, and they also are able to predict churn, and they are able to respond and retain their customers. So this is one of the journeys that we took with this bank, and many others that we've done as well, like these ones. All right, so let's look specifically at the technology. So these are the main technologies that we are seeing driving digital transformation. API, building the API economy, connecting the bank to other partners in the ecosystem, providing new services that are flexible for the customer, advanced analytics, getting data from all sorts of sources, analyzing and providing insights that were not possible before, making it possible to personalize offers. AI, voice biometrics, that's coming online. Safaricom is already using that. Blockchain to simplify and reduce the cost of transactions, and cloud as a platform to innovate with agility and speed and with low cost. So here's like an example of how these systems come together. On the left side, we have what the banks are looking for in terms of the outcome or the business need. So decreasing cost, increasing growth, geographical expansion, differentiation, building new products. And the right side, we have the outcome. In the middle, we have the systems that make this possible from a digital standpoint. So it's the systems of engagement, the CRMs, modern CRMs, systems of record. These are the existing ones, core banking and so on. Systems of intelligence, systems of innovation, and systems of differentiation, all working together to provide some new products and services that you can very easily iterate upon on. So if you want to build the next version of your customer engagement solution or whatever is the platform that you built, very easy to make quick improvements and go to market. All right, so these are the specific technologies we actually bring together in most digital transformation projects. To enable you to plug into the API economy, we have the web and mobile API management orchestration services that enable you to do that, connect to various disparate systems, various partners, to enable you to build apps with a consistent experience across multiple devices. We have those developer services available to you. Security, very big deal, very important, of course, in banking. We invest $1 billion annually to research and to strengthen our platforms so that you guys don't have to do that. We also have, of course, analytics capabilities, and the unique proposition here is that as Microsoft, we don't ask you to move your data. We meet your data where it is. If it is on-prem, we can connect to it through secure links, analyze it, and provide you with the output. It's not about asking you or forcing you to move the data to the cloud. There are benefits for that, of course, but we meet your data where it is. All right, so as I close, I want to leave you with this quote here from a famous man, former CEO of GE. He said, if the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside, the end is near.
It is a piece of platform, a piece of technology, resides in the cloud, typically resides in the cloud for shared use. So, in other words, if you are Standard Chartered Bank, your data is on that platform. So is HSBC, so is Stanbic, so is KCB, and so on and so forth. Everybody's data is on the same shared platform, which is different from in the past. When you buy a piece of software, you put it in your bank, and only your bank's data is in the piece of software, right? So that is not the case with fintech. That's not the way how fintech works. It's a piece of shared platform in the cloud. Every bank, every user uses it, and all your data are on the same platform. Obviously, there are proper segregation of the data, but they are all on the same platform. So that's one characteristic. The second is SaaS, software as a service. All right. So what does that mean? Normally, when you buy a piece of software from a tech provider, you license the software. Agree? You pay a one-time licensing fee, and you use it as if it is yours. Normally, fintech does not operate that way. Fintech price is service on a per transaction basis. Yes, there could be some subscription, but it's principally on a per use basis. If you use 10 transactions, you pay for 10 transactions. If you process 1,000 LCs, you pay for 1,000 LCs. If you process 1 million payments, you pay for the 1 million payments. There is no licensing fee. All right? Bear in mind, whatever I say right now is common characteristics. I'm sure you'll find exceptions. Okay? So SaaS is a very important characteristics, how a fintech runs its business model and how a fintech prices for its services. The next thing is, I'm going to use the word big data loosely. All right? So what do I mean? Now, once again, let's take back to the days before the advent of fintech, all right, whereby you buy a piece of software from a data provider. It could be Oracle, it could be Surecom, it could be Misys. You put it into your physical premises, and the only data that is on the platform is the bank's data. Agree? In fact, you conscientiously try not to commingle that data with other data, especially not with other banks' data, not with other customers' data, not with other marketplace data. That's not the way how normally fintech works. It consciously commingle the data between different service providers and makes business sense out from the amalgamated data, all within the important concept of data segregations. So yes, there are proper data segregations, all right, but on an aggregated basis, on a mass basis, data are aggregated and make sense out of it, and data are being monetized. The fintech monetize the data. As compared to Oracle, as an example, or Surecom, it is only your bank's data. That data belongs to you, your bank. In the case of fintech, that data is shared. Oracle never monetizes the data because the data belongs to you. The fintech will monetize the data. All right? So that's all about data. And of course, you can extend that to AI, you can extend it to machine learning, and so on and so forth. Which is the AI that's written there. And it tends to be rather disruptive. So, once again, before the advent of fintech, when the bank brings in a new piece of technology, all right, generally people embrace a new technology because it makes them a lot more efficient. Fintech does that, but very often they do it in a fairly disruptive manner. It makes the individual rather uncomfortable with what they have been doing in the past and what they're going to do going forward. All right. So the change brought about fintech is significantly more than the change brought by a normal service provider, technology service provider. All right. So let me take a pause there and see if there's any question. If not, I'll move on to the next slide. Now, this is not an exhaustive list of fintech platforms out there, trade finance fintech platform out there. Not exhaustive. There are a lot more to it than that. But I thought it is important to classify the fintech into different categories because not all fintech are the same. Just like not all banks are the same. You are different from JP Morgan. JP Morgan is different from Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs is different from some digital bank. The same can be said about fintech. So this is the way how I prefer to categorize trade finance fintech platforms. So on the first column are all the various fintech, and CCR Manager, the one that I represent, is the second one. On the second, third, fourth column, talk about three different categories. Category number one are fintechs that are there to help with client financing. In other words, fintechs that are there to provide financing for your customers. The second category are fintechs that are there to help your bank to be a lot more efficient, technologically and operationally. So there's a very strong tech angle to it. The last category are fintechs that are there to help the banks to manage its capital, its liquidity, and its credit profile. So if you look at these three categories of fintech out there, you can say that the first one, the one that does the client financing, perhaps could be the most disruptive, all right? Because it can potentially disintermediate you from your customers. And that typically, that's the one that gets reported in the newspaper the most. Those are the ones that you read about in the press the most. They are the ones that stand between you and your clients. All right. The second and the third are ones that benefit the bank because it's helping the bank to be operationally, technologically more efficient, a lot more efficient in the way it manages its capital, its liquidity, its credit profile. So it does benefit the banks. Banks generally welcome the second and the third category. However, all right? However or but, while the bank may welcome the second and the third category, I'll just wait for that to fly off. So while the banks may welcome the second and the third category because it makes the banks a lot more efficient, the same cannot be said about the individual that works in the bank. All right? The individual that works in the bank may welcome the new technology, may not welcome the new technology. Sometimes it's a change in their job function because of the introduction of the new technology. Sometimes they feel threatened by the new technology. So in all three cases, it can be quite disruptive at the individual level. All right. So if there's no question, I'll move on to the next slide. Any question here? Next. The earlier slide, this slide, versus this slide, the earlier slide are all fintech started by private organizations, private platforms. This slide shows you three different fintechs that are actually sponsored by banks, created by banks. In many ways, created by banks to be self-destructive. All right? So let me walk you through the three of them. The first one is known as Trade Information Network, TIN for short. It's founded by 7 banks. The 7 banks are written there, all right? TIN has a focus on supply chain finance, specifically payable supply chain finance, or at least that's the starting point. Obviously, over time, TIN might or will expand into other form of trade finance, but for now, the focus is really on supply chain trade finance. It works based on a common set of data that is interchangeable between the 7 banks and banks that are not inside the network. So it's not restricted to the 7 banks, all right? These 7 banks are simply sponsor of the project. It's not meant to be restricted to the 7 banks, all right? It uses a common technology, all right? It partners with a tech company called CGI. So what does TIN aim to achieve? What TIN aims to achieve is, through common technology, through common data platform, banks in the world will be in a much better position to use data to provide pre-shipment finance. Pre-shipment finance, not post-shipment finance. As you can imagine, a lot of accounts payable finance are all about post-shipment finance. TIN's focus is on pre-shipment finance. So quite a big deviation from how things are done today. The second is Votron. 8 founding banks, quite a diverse group of banks. You get the usual global banks like BNP, ING, HSBC, but you get some fairly local banks, all right, like Bangkok Bank, like CTBC of Taiwan, all right. What Votron aims to do is really, in short, to replace MT700. All right? Is to replace MT700 that uses blockchain technology. Okay? It will have both, unlike the MT700, which is used by banks, Votron will be used by corporates and banks. Corporates will use Votron to apply for an LC. Banks will use Votron to issue LC and receive LCs. And then corporates will use Votron to prepare the documents to submit under that particular LC. So it's to replace MT700, but it's also to go beyond MT700.